welcome to my new DIY YouTube channel. And what better way to kick it off than with a Christmas special. At times like this, with Christmas coming up, we're nearly in December now, people are going to want to know how to install outside sockets. So I thought, well, why not make a video, show you how to do it. So let's get started. So first of all, we're going to talk about what parts we're going to need. You're going to want to go and buy yourself an outdoor socket. Now this is a double, but you can get singles as well. You can also get ones with RCDs built in if you don't have RCD protection. In my case I do. You need to make sure the socket that you buy is IP66 rated. Okay. In my case it has power lights and other things. It's from Screwfix. It's not that expensive. Made by British General, but there's a fair few varieties on the market. You also may want cable clips. You may want trunking or some form of quadrant to tidy up in your garage. In my case, doesn't go on the outside though. You'll also want some silicone sealant. Doesn't matter if it's white or clear because it's not going to be visible anyway. You will also want some barrier pipe. 15mm will do you nicely. You only want a short length for that. You'll want a variety of screws and wall plugs. Let's get on to tools. So tooling wise, hopefully you have a variety of DIY tools. If not, maybe you could borrow some, but you need to have a reasonable understanding of how they work. So you're going to want maybe an impact driver. That's a bit of a luxury, it's not really a necessity. You're going to want a combi drill though, of some description. You will most definitely need an SDS drill to go through the wall. You'll want a variety of hand tools, screwdrivers, things like that. Pencil and whatnot. You'll also need a spirit level, not too big, just something like that. You're going to want something to cut your barrier pipe with. You're going to want your silicone gun. You're going to want a variety of screws. I forgot to mention earlier, you're also going to want some 2.5mm twin and earth wire. When you're drilling, use the appropriate PPE. You're also going to want a variety of drill bits, including SDS bits. In my case, a 16mm. You'll see why we're going to use that in a little while. And a 10mm SDS bit. A variety of other drill bits, and tape measure, usual kind of DIY tools. Another handy few tools you'll want are wire strippers. You can either use automatic ones or manual. You could use a Stanley knife, and you'll pick up some of the other tools as we go along. So when you're installing an outside socket, in my case I'm going to install it on this garage wall. You want to be installing it no less than ½ metre from the bottom of the socket to the floor, maximum about 1.5 metres. Once you've decided what area you're going to put your socket in, what you want to do is make a rough mark, which I have here, and then we want to make sure we're not going to be drilling through any wiring or any plumbing that's already in this wall. There's ways to do that without a detector, but if you have access to a detector, it's always handy. That would turn red if there was any wiring or plumbing. If we switch that to metal in that wall. Whilst these are handy, they're not the be all and end all. If you're installing on a house wall, it's even more important. There's likely to be a lot of other stuff that you need to be careful of. So the next step we're going to take, once we know there's no wiring or plumbing in this wall, and we've marked out where we want our socket to be, it's helpful if you choose to drill through the mortar rather than the brick. When we go through there, we want to go through nice and level, not all over the place like this. This is a 10mm SDS bit. Obviously you need to make sure you've got one long enough to go through your wall. In my case I don't have a cavity to go through here, but you may well do. So we'll put a 10mm through first. And we're going to put that through on hammer action as well. So we'll put our SDS drill to hammer and drill. Now we're going to put through a 16mm SDS bit. What I will do is turn hammer action off, because this may burst a bigger lump through the other side. On the inside, it's not too bad. You can see it's a nice clean hole. Okay, if we were to drill through the brick, we'd likely have a bigger mess. So next up, get a bit of 15mm barrier pipe, which is going to be perfect for going through our 16mm hole. Make sure you've got enough excess through the other side so you're not short. simply cut it off. Leave it flush for now. So let's have a look what we got in our box here. Instructions. Who needs them? Back plate. This is what we're going to screw to the wall. They've provided us with rubber seals for the holes we're going to drill, because we don't want any water to get in here. And they have provided us with the little screws to attach the face plate. There's some instructions in there. It's quite a good little back box actually. This is obviously the hole that we're going to cut for our mains cable to come through, and there's a little drain which we mustn't forget to drill a hole in there. That's basically for condensation. This particular model has a weatherproof seal here, you can see running around the side, and some little LED lights. So when you've got an item plugged in here, you can run your cable through the bottom, close this up, and it can't get any water in there at all. This is obviously what we're going to wire into, which will sit against our back plate, something like that. So now what we need to do is cut a hole in our back box for our mains cable to come through. Use one of these spade bits, 16mm. We'll drill our small drain hole just down the bottom corner here. Drill the holes for our screws here. Our back plate is prepared to be screwed to the wall. First of all, we're going to get our level on the top of our back box there and get that nice and level. Just make a mark, that way you haven't got to hold all this. Make a mark on your holes with a pencil. The other way you can do it is just get your drill and make 4 marks. A 6mm masonry bit. We will get our plugs and a hammer, just tap them home. As you can see, it's smack bang in the right place. Put your level back on the top, grab a screw, about halfway or 3/4 of the way, then we'll finish it off by hand. If we do this too tight, what we're going to do is, if we over tighten it, we'll crack the plastic on the back plate. That'll actually cause leaks. And just tighten the rest of these up. As you can see, what I'm doing here is just putting these little rubber seals in, which they provided us with. That'll stop any water from actually coming through the screw holes that we've just made. Grab yourself some sealant. Doesn't matter if it's white, clear, whatever colour. It's just to stop any moisture coming through where we've made that hole in our back box. Just wipe that around like so. Now it's important that you make sure you've got enough wire through the other side to go into whatever power outlet you're going to be going into. You just strip a bit of that wire off. These are all labelled. We've got live, neutral and 2 earths. Okay, you can use either earth. Live is brown, neutral is blue, earth is unsleeved, but we're going to sleeve that with some yellow and green sleeving. Cut a length and slide it over the earth wire. Make sure you got enough length on these to wire into your faceplate, and just strip the ends off them. Wire these into the appropriate terminals on the back here. Right, once we've got it wired in, like so, just fold your wiring in so it fits nicely. And carefully push it back into its place, like that. You can just screw them in. There we go, and that is fitted. One of the easiest ways to get your live feed is to take it from another socket. Another way you can do it is to get some flex wire, wire a plug on the end and run the flex wire through the wall to your external socket. In my case, I'm going to run some twin and earth next to this one into here and back up and to where I want it to come out of the wall. Now before we go any further, what we're going to do is isolate the power to the garage. And whilst we're doing this, you're going to want to look if you've got RCD protection. In my case, I do. You can see garage on the circuit here, and we've got RCD protection. There are other solutions, RCD versions of the outside sockets. You have a few options for cable management on the inside of the wall. You can either use trunking like this, or you can use cable clips, and we'll just basically bend the wire around here and run it along the wall up into the joists and down into the socket on the other side of the garage. If you're doing this in your house, you may have to be a little bit more careful and a bit more choosy about where you run this cable. What you might have to be doing is taking the back box out of one of your sockets and actually drilling your hole behind that so that you can run the cable straight out the wall. We'll get a couple of these in and then we can work out where the rest is going to go. So, run that nice and neat along there. You can see what I've done. Nice and neatly, run the wiring up the wall, ran it down the wall. And now all I'm going to do, just break out a little bit more of the back box here on this socket. This little area here is actually hollow. You can see you've got them all the way around the sides and the bottom. That's actually hollow. All you want to do is a little sharp chisel, just break that out nice and neatly and drop this piece of wire down and through. Strip this wire back, similar to this one. Again, you want to put some earth sleeve on the earth wire. You can see on the back here, you've got neutral, you've got live, and you've got earth over here. All we're going to do is double up these wires, so yellow and green with yellow and green into the earth, into the live, brown and brown, into the neutral, blue and blue. It's all wired up. Once you've tightened your screws up, just give the wire a pull just to check that it's actually seated home properly and that the screw has got both wires. Push your wires out into the corners so that you don't nip them in anything, and basically remount this plate. That's all back together, nice and tidy. We'll test this once we're turned our power back on and when we test the outside socket as well. One final touch, just bring in your silicone gun, run a little silicone bead around this hole here. That's basically just so that no water or moisture can come in here. It shouldn't do because it's sealed the other side. So there we go, that's our socket installed. Hopefully that only took you an hour or two and it helped some of you to learn how to do this. This is a new channel. I'm going to be doing lots of videos like this. If this is the sort of thing you like to see, just leave me a like or a comment, let me know.